My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. This is the only channel dedicated to UFC fight picks and DraftKings lineups run by MMA insiders and professional fighters. Every week, I join Dan Kramer and Nick Newell, two longtime professional fighters that have fought at the highest levels on the planet, as well as Jacob Lyons, a skinny kid from Indiana. So join us every single week for our full fight card breakdowns, our individual fight card breakdowns, our betting guide, and our DraftKings lineups. Next up at UFC Vegas 29, we have Josh Parisian versus Roque Martinez. Josh Parisian fought my buddy, Parker Porter. I called Parker, so I managed Parker in the past. I'm good friends with Parker. We're both from Connecticut. Great dude. We spent a lot of time together. Parker beat Josh Parisian in Josh's UFC debut. Beat him very handily, honestly. I called Parker today. We had a nice chat about everything, but I said, hey, do me a favor, break down this fight for me so that I have something that I can show them. You fought Josh Parisian. You may end up fighting, actually, he's fighting Chase Sherman. That's booked. He told me today. I didn't even see the announcement, but he's fighting Chase Sherman. He originally had that fight. Then he got COVID. That fight was off. It's back on. Either way, I have reached out to Parker. We talked today. He's sending in his breakdown of this fight, and I'll upload that as soon as I get that. As far as my breakdown is concerned, Josh Parisian is 13-4. He is 4-1 in his last 5. That one loss coming to my friend Parker Porter. And then we have Roque Martinez is 3-2 in his last 5. Josh Parisian is looking for his first UFC win. He has lots of output. He throws a ton of crazy stuff. For a heavyweight, he spins. He does unreasonable things at times. He gasses super early, and he definitely did against Parker. I imagine he's taking this fight more seriously. Somebody just commented, check his Instagram. I did check his Instagram, and he is taking this more seriously. He will be in better shape, and we can expect him to be. Roque Martinez is very short for this division. And the problem is he can't get to people.
He's very short, but as like he's tall. It's like if you're like for normal people, he's very tall. But
Jacob,
for
it's
the
okay,
heavyweight
Jacob.
division,
I'm not calling you short. It's all right. They know you're not.
Nobody's short here. I'm just saying.
No.
You said he's short for the division. He is short, but as an average person, he's very tall. Very tall.
Jacob, it's all right. It's okay. Like people understand that you'll never be as tall as big as me. You'll never be as tall as big as Dan. And as far as like averages are concerned, you're probably Jesse in the comments just said less. He's probably talking about monkey knife fights, but that also applies to your height. Yes, you'll never be as tall as us, and that's fine.
I'm handsome tall. You guys are like giant tall. Like people are like there's that line in the movie where like
you're better looking than Dan.
When you walk through the airport, people stop and stare. Okay, and I just breeze right through.
You're handsome tall. You're better looking than Dan and
right.
Nick, who is a Tommy Hilfiger model. Yep.
Right. Hey. No, make it big again.
Anyway, Roque Martinez, he is shorter for the division, and that is a problem for him, especially because Josh is very tall. I'm not a big let me pull up Topology and there's a 6-inch reach advantage. So, there's my pick. That is not what I'm doing here. He has struggled in the past with closing the distance and finding people's heads. So the good news is for his stature, he's got that Samoan head. He is like impossible to finish. He's incredibly durable, but he does have issues with his range. And I think Josh Parisian probably picks him apart at range. I imagine he'll be in better shape for this fight than he was for the Parker fight. I imagine he will use his range and his high volume output. I also do not think this will be a finish. I think Josh Parisian lights up Roque, but I don't think he finishes him. So I have Josh Parisian as my pick. We'll see how Parker Porter breaks it down. He shared the cage with Josh Parisian. I do not have him in my lineup at $8,700. That's a lot of money. I do like the more in the strike line, and 92.5 is a lot for a heavyweight, but he has high volume, and I think Roque is just on the wrong end of a lot of that volume. So, Jacob, what are your thoughts?
I'll tell you what. You mentioned the kicking from Josh. You know who Josh reminds me of? Did you ever, I'm sure you did, but when you're growing up, there's always that kid like that just starts going karate. And then you see him in the hallway and he's just doing wild karate stuff all the time. Those kids terrified me. There's always that one kid in school that just learned
What kind of school
karate.
did you go to?
That just learned karate and he just tries to kick everyone at every opportunity. That's what Josh looked like in that Contender Series fight with his wild spitting stuff. And it's like he just learned all these kicks and he wanted to show them off. So that's what that reminded me of. You mentioned the height, disadvantage for Martinez. I think that is a factor. I did notice, I did not know this, but in one of his, was it Ryzen? Is that the
Risen? Yeah, Ryzen.
Risen, whatever it is.
Yeah.
He was wearing shoes in the fight and like kicking the guy with. I've never seen that.
You texted me about.
Yeah, he literally
wearing shoes in his fight.
Dude, he literally had wrestling shoes on, but he's throwing like shin kicks and like body kicks with shoes on. Like, what the hell's going on here? But I think Josh wins the fight. I think this is a sloppy mess of a fight. The only thing I would be worried about would be Martinez with his. I've seen him get takedowns before, and with the height advantage, maybe he comes in with a grappling grappling game plan. So that's the only thing that would worry me for picking Josh. But I think that Josh should win with that wild karate stuff.
I agree. I mean, that's some solid insight with the height. As far as like grappling is,
and I know that he can wrestle because he owned wrestling shoes. He was wearing them in the octagon, or the ring, whatever.
So, you sure they weren't boxing shoes?
They look like wrestling shoes to me. I don't know. I mean, because boxing are like really high.
Higher.
Yeah. So,
but I didn't pin him as a hardcore grappler, but the height disadvantage works really well for grappling, obviously, because he doesn't have to lower his level to get to those hips. He's just at the hip. So either way, that's my breakdown of the fight. I have a bet on this one as well. I bet over on rounds, which was the over on rounds was -170. So I bet goes to a decision, which is +145. This is another really weird one because the over on rounds, the round line was 2.5 rounds. So they're saying if it goes more than 2.5 rounds, the odds are -170. But if it goes to a decision, I get +145. That is literally a 2.5 minute window. I'll risk that window and do the +145. So I have this fight going to a decision. I put a unit on goes to a decision. It is sloppy. I think Josh wins, but Roque's head is like a cement house. So I don't think he's going anywhere. Either way, that's our breakdown. People in the comments are saying less on the total strike line.
And David Ramona also said that kid was probably Jacob growing up with the karate. I was not the karate kid, okay? And let me just say, too, the karate kid was usually the kid that smells like pee. There was always a kid growing up that always smelled like pee. And there's a lot of crossover.
Where you grew up, but it sounds gross.
There's a lot of crossover between the wild karate kid and the kid that smells like pee. That's all I'll say.
I honestly, like, Indiana just sounds terrible. From everything I hear from you about Indiana.
It's great. I'm an indie animal.
Yeah. Either way, that's our breakdown. Let us know in the comments what you think. The strike line is interesting. I think more is the play because I think it is a decision. And I think Josh Parisian, who has high volume, just continues with that high volume. And Roque Martinez, who has a cement brick for a head, just absorbs and throws. So I do think more is the play. And I have the bet on the goes to a decision.